I think that is anyway.
Weird.
It's important to remember there's no problem in your life that you can't solve with science. Sadly, not enough people know how beneficial science can be in their lives. But now, thanks to modern technology, there is a cure. The webcomic Girl Genius. It is so well written and illustrated that it has won 8 awards, 3 of which are Hugo Science Fiction Awards. It got so bad that the Girl Genius team decided to withdraw themselves from the runnings for the Web Cartoonist Choice Awards as they were winning the award too often, and they became worried that the award would lose legitimacy if no one else ever won. As you can see, there's more detail to this comic than any of the previous comics I've shown you. Phil and Kaja Foglio, sorry for any mispronunciation, the creators, have spent years honing their craft to a high sheen. This comes from the creators starting out in a less digital realm. The story we see online was actually a restart, sort of the Girl Genius in print. Phil Foglio had apparently been telling young artists that the internet was the graphic novel venue of the future for years, when it suddenly occurred to him that he should follow his own advice. It meant fewer hard copy sales, but it meant much more direct sales. Basically, they only had to print what they directly sold, rather than print huge amounts, absorbing the cost, hoping that the sales would outweigh the expense. Add that cost-saving device, as well as a similarly focused merchandising campaign, and an already active fan base, and when Girl Genius appeared online, it was already widely popular and profitable. Girl Genius Online is the 28,592nd most visited site in the world, and the 11,907th in the United States. It's January 10th, 2014. Let's begin. I resisted reading this comic for a few years. Maybe it was my inner hipster. Girl Genius was just too mainstream. You could tell by how good their advertising was, and it looked so much like what had come out of the Big Three. I read comics online because it was a venue for people who were writing outside of the Big Three's marketing guidelines. Now it looked like someone was trying to take back the internet in their name. This makes me sound a bit snobbish, but really it was only an excuse to not read it when I saw it because I wanted to read something else that I'd already come across that had caught my interest. I didn't need Girl Genius, I could read Spider-Man instead. Or if I was online, I would read Snowflakes, or Geralt, or the Institute of Metaphysics, or Emergency Exit. It took one of my favorite publishers, Tom Siddell, posting on one of his pages that he was a fan of the Foglios before I finally gave the comic a shot. You've seen a few of their pages. That should probably be enough. I mean, look at this stuff. It's so vibrant and interesting, and it hasn't even adopted its true color yet. They aren't in the depths of mad science yet, and the artist improves in every regard slowly as the comic continues. So yeah, this is dang good art. I don't care if I can't name the reasons why. If someone thinks they can convince me different, go ahead and try, but you've got your work cut out for you. Like the rest of the comics I've reviewed so far, this comic is the creator's sole source of income, meaning that they spend a huge amount of their time with this thing. There's just so much going on, even in these early pages, you can just see the passion for the storytelling through the artwork on every page. I'm guessing they spend a little bit more than 40 hours a week each on this. As for the story, also extremely professional, causing me to wonder why that was almost a bad thing in my eyes when I was avoiding the comic. But more than that, there's something here that most professional comics don't have. A female protagonist with a strong character. She's not a stereotype. Actually, she's often used to make fun of stereotyped women when the plot calls for it. She isn't a damsel in distress. She isn't a wicked queen. She isn't a prize for romantic interest. She's just a character in a mad science plot who happens to be a girl. What's more, the villains are so much better than any other villains ever, dang it. They're almost all written like real people. Well, okay, some villains are just so straight up evil. Well, I mean, we know their motivations and what they do makes sense, but we're not sympathetic with their plight. But that's like 2, maybe 3 of the villains? Everyone else I cheer for, often. I want them to win, and I want who they're fighting to win. I really don't care who wins. I just love these characters, and so whatever they do, I'll read it and enjoy it. There's even some villains which I thought that I was going to be cheering against, if that makes sense. And now it's turned around and I am also cheering for them. It's really kind of awesome to watch. It comes down to the villains not understanding the whole situation. When they do, it typically means that they join the protagonist's cause, or it turns into a fight between idealism and realism. But since this is Mad Scienceville, you can build your own death ray out of anything in the rubbish heap. It eliminates the concept of a level playing field. Anyone, no matter how small, can have the advantage, at least briefly, over whole municipalities and nations. Basically, the idea of might makes right is a concept that can only last for a few moments, less usually. I can't really narrow down which element of the storytelling is the best in this comic. The characters are real and interesting. I want to hear more about them. The universe is fantastic and well thought out. I want to hear more about it. The plot is intricate, with a huge number of players and political maneuvers, assassination attempts, and rival kings. Even minor plot-branching mini-stories are part of the greater whole of the plot, just adding another intricacy. I guess what I'm saying is that if you would prefer the novelization rather than the comic, you got a lot to look forward to there as well. But speaking of the format, how were they at their craft? Really good as well. This is, I think, where the comic is weakest, but that's just in comparison to everything else. There are times when I think that the creators aren't using the full potential of the images, relying a little too heavily on dialogue, but this may just be me trying desperately to find something to critique. I mean, they really do a pretty good job of using the dialogue in the visual medium. Characters rarely stand still and talk. If they're talking about a physical object, it usually appears so they can gesture to it. There is definitely no problem with the creators telling us rather than showing us. They will always show us. I guess I just want to have more pages where we get a story through the art. They're there, and they're done really well. I guess I just want more. Now, why wouldn't you read this comic? No, really, I'm asking you. Are you stupid? This comic is amazing and has very little objectionable content. It's well written, well crafted, and well illustrated. You have your computer on right now. Please give it at least a few pages. There's plenty here for all ages, as long as you don't mind a little blood and the character's propensity to be clad in little but their underwear isn't too offensive to you. Still, better than anything the big three have to offer. The only word that I can use to denote the quality of this comic is superlative. Now read it, you under-entertained heathens! Don't make me gesture wildly with my hand-mounted catapult! I'll do it! You think I won't? I will show you all!
Look at them run! They're all like little ants that I will crush! Hand me my death ray, Igor. This is just too good an opportunity to miss.